Hey there guys, welcome back to my channel, Houseplant Therapy, where I consider plants to be a therapeutic lifestyle. Why not fill your house full of plants? Because it just makes it the zenful heaven to come home back to. If that interests you, please consider subscribing. In today's video, I want to talk about how to take care of the ZZ plant. That probably rings a bell in the back of your head. You're like, the ZZ plant, right? It's one of these really popular plants in the hobby. I absolutely love this plant. It has this crazy shiny finish to it. It's so beautiful. I want to give you 5 simple steps on how to take care of the ZZ plant. So first things first, let's try to find the ZZ plant. I'm not sure where my girlfriend put it. There's a couple different kinds of ZZ plants, and usually the difference is just in the coloration of leaves. So here we have it right here. I found it. By the way, this is a new planting room that we just set up. We have videos on how to DIY build these shelves. We did these DIY grow lights. We just have tons and tons of cool videos like this, guys. If that interests you, please consider subscribing. So let's deep dive into taking care of the ZZ plant, because this is one of the most beautiful plants in the hobby. Just look at these leaves. First of all, you see ZZ plants in a lot of like doctor's offices or like secretary offices, and that's because this plant has a crazy like sheen to it. It's glossy finish. The plant actually looks fake. It's crazy. So let's bring this beast of a plant out to the table so we can get a better view of it. We got this one at Home Depot a hot minute ago. And what's really cool about this plant is it's really cheap. Like you can literally walk out the door of a big box chain store like that for maybe like $20 to $30. So like I was telling you guys, there's different types of ZZ plants, and you can usually tell by the coloration. This is the normal one, but there's actually kind of a newer one to the hobby called the Raven ZZ plant, and it's an even darker green than this. And it's a lot more expensive. You could expect maybe to pay double the price. So the number one most important variable when it comes to taking care of the ZZ plant is gotta be lighting. A lot of people screw this up. This plant is super easy and adaptable, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't like its lighting. And a lot of times this plant, people buy it and it doesn't grow, and that's because it's not getting enough lighting. On average, this plant, it prefers medium to high indirect lighting, which if you look up a lot of the care guides, they're gonna lie to you and they're gonna say, this is a low light plant. And don't get me wrong, this plant is super indestructible, and you can put it, maybe like 8 feet away from the window and it does fine. But this plant actually prefers a decent amount of light for it to actually grow and take off and excel. But that being said, it's very resilient to low light. And what happens is the plant will almost go into like dormant mode, and the plant will seem fine. It'll seem fine for like a year or two. It's absolutely crazy. This plant is so indestructible. But that being said, if you want it to grow and thrive, it likes medium to high indirect lighting. The second most important variable when it comes to taking care of your ZZ plant is watering schedule. A lot of people screw this up. This plant likes to be watered not that much in comparison to a lot of the other house plants. And that's what makes it so easy to take care of. This plant actually, I think we water this on average probably once a month. And what happens is, there's 2 variables that work together in a negative manner here. First of all, a lot of people don't give this plant enough sunlight, and that in turn, when you water it, it doesn't allow the soil to completely drain or dry out. And that's a huge issue for this plant. The number one reason why this plant dies is because it gets too much water and the soil does not dry out. This plant absolutely hates sitting water or moisture down by the roots. It likes to thoroughly dry out, almost like a cactus. So try to give your ZZ plant adequate amounts of sunlight and don't overwater it. If you're watering this thing once a week, it's too much. A lot of times just neglecting this plant, that's when the plant is going to thrive. And the third variable when it comes to taking care of this plant, make sure your pot has drainage holes. Look at the bottom of your pot at the bottom. A lot of times if you have a beauty ring or a beauty pot over your regular pot, a lot of times what we'll do is we'll drill holes in this even, because if you're watering it you want that water to exit the pot. This is a huge deal when it comes to this plant. The number one thing you should take away from this video is to not overwater your ZZ plant. One of the biggest reasons this plant hates overwatering is because the plant holds on to water so well. And actually, if you start digging up here in the root system a little bit, you can see almost like a round like sack. It looks kind of like a small potato. And it's known as a rhizome. It's like a small little ball, and it holds water for the plant. And you can tell these stems are really thick and fleshy. Same with the leaves, as that one's like dangling apart, of course, on the video. No! A lot of times we just rip these off. Because a lot of times when these plants like lose leaves and stuff or get damage to them, they go into like a defense mode and they almost like, they grow better sometimes. You know, like sometimes if plants are really stagnant, what you'll do is you'll chop them and propagate them. They'll go into defense mode and then they'll grow twice as fast. A lot of people don't know that, but it actually helps sometimes. But yeah, this plant retains a lot of the water all the time, and that's why you don't have to water it that much. I cannot get over how glossy the leaves are. It like the sheen on these is ridiculous. Like if you don't have this houseplant in your house, you need to get it because it just looks beautiful. And the fourth variable has to do with repotting. A lot of people buy their houseplants and they immediately repot them. That's a big no-no. We don't do that around here, and neither do you. So this plant likes its root structure really crowded. So I would say you don't have to repot these plants on average to like every 2 to 3 years. And a lot of times you will know when your plant needs to be repotted because the pot is growing really crazy because these roots are actually like really thick and huge. And what happens is they grow on the outside of the pot so much that they almost like start to bend the pot. It's really crazy. And a lot of times you'll know if you have to repot because your plant stops growing. That's a huge indicator. All right, guys, the last important variable when it comes to taking care of your ZZ plant, number 5, is literally just neglect and forget about this plant, and it's going to thrive. Honestly, I tell people that advice on a lot of houseplants, and they're like, dude, you can't consider that like one of the variables. Guys, you need to kind of just forget about this because what happens is a lot of new plant keepers, they go out and buy plants and they obsess about their new plant and they're watering it, they're analyzing everything, and they're overdoing it. What you need to do is go buy some more plants. That way, the more plants you have, the easier it is to kind of neglect them. And that's what happens with a lot of us that collect a lot of house plants is we literally kind of just get so many of them that only the strong survive. And those are the ones that are part of our collection. So guys, wrapping this up, the ZZ plant, number 1 is lighting. Number 2 is don't overwater. Number 3, make sure of your drainage. Number 4, don't stress repotting. And number 5, literally neglect and forget about the ZZ plant. And it's gonna grow and take off like crazy. Hopefully this video helped you guys. Hit me up in the comment section. Did you just pick up a ZZ plant and you're new to this? Are you researching this plant? Guys, we love houseplants. We just love all this stuff. So please consider subscribing. We have just tons of crazy projects. That shelf back there we did a video on. That's a houseplant shelf that when you water your plants, you can leave them in there. And the water just goes through the shelf and it drains into a bucket. You can see the bucket down there. It's absolutely crazy. It's a self-draining houseplant, a shelf. I don't know why I'm blabbing, guys. Let me know in the comment section. Hopefully this video helped you learn how to take care of a ZZ house plant. It's one of the coolest plants in the industry. I could talk about this forever, but I don't want to bore you guys. Hit me up in the comments, like this video, subscribe. I love you guys. Until the next one.